dramatic opening round in the Bahrain desert. Tier 2 comes to Europe and the beautiful city of Barcelona for round 2 of Season 2. We have Fun F1. We're at the Circuit de Catalunya for this round, and whilst the venue may be being replaced by Madrid's street circuit in real life, there's still plenty to offer from such a historic circuit. Think back to 2012 and Pastor Maldonado picking up his only win in Formula 1 at this track, or even 2016 where an 18-year-old Max Verstappen became the youngest ever Grand Prix winner. It's a circuit steeped in history, so let's take a look at the track today. 2.89 miles, 14 turns, 2 DRS zones with great overtaking opportunities into turns 1 and 10. I'm sure we'll see plenty of action here in the race today.
Hello all and welcome in here to Tier 2, Round 2 in Spain. You're joined by me, your commentator WHF Arrow, but as Cthulhu now rounds the final 2 corners here. And Callum has left to pick up a setup, but it has retired his car, which is quite funny. Because the game is just so good, and you know. But Sampa now goes next with a 12.4. Next cross line should be Dub with a 12.8. And Tactics goes quickest with an 11.6 there. But then last time out, if you'll remember, both Tactics and GB got drive-throughs that sabotaged their race. GB ended up finishing P4. Meanwhile, goes up to P3. As Josh now gonna round the final corner. Can he put it on pole here? Downshift into 6th. And crosses the line with an 11.4. As the salmon goes a little wide but keeps it valid. So still may have the opportunity to improve, but it leaves too far down on his time to improve. And meanwhile, it'll be GB Sanderson across the line next. Can he improve? GB up to P2. He goes. Meanwhile, Tactics has also had a crash with the AlphaTauri of Dynamic Duo, and Tactics has blocked Dynamic Duo's lap, it seems. Dynamic Duo 4/10 up there.
Oh god, I've just fucked it. Oh, for God's sake, man. Yeah, I've just... I'm getting a penalty.
And a mega coming together there between Tactics and Dynamic Duo, and I'm sure that will see the steward's desk.
And it certainly did, with Tactics picking himself up a qualifying ban for his next round. But meanwhile, the grid for today's race. Joshy lines up on pole position, nearly 2 tenths ahead of GB, whose wait for his first pole position goes on. Tactics in 3rd with Cthulhu 4th, Wed Throne lining up just ahead of Dobbo in 5th place. And it's 7 constructors in the top 7 with the AlphaTauris making up row 4. In 9th place, Sped Fungus just within a second of the pole time and only just ahead of Zampa's 7 thousandths between those two, with Charisma very close behind as well in 11th. Knackercracker in 12th, Dubsy in 13th with the reserve driver Aspiring Jewel in the Williams in 14th place. And lining up on the back row of the grid, Callum did not set a lap in qualifying, and neither did Lucas Dirksen.
And hopefully now we will get the 5 red lights, as they're now on and they're out, but no one's moving away because another game glitch. And they're out finally, and they're away clean. GB's got a lovely start into turn 1 here. GB's got a good start. Tactics has been bottled up behind. Tactics has lost out big here. Meanwhile, the Red Bulls and the Mercedes coming side by side nearly.
Lights out, away we go. Don't make it free. Yeah, now we're going free wide. Why are we going free wide into turn 1? It's just a silly thing to do. Why would anyone go free wide there? I'm so lost, man. I can't turn. Where's my tyre temp?
And Spared Fungus here battling just like they were in Bahrain. And Spirit Fungus gets ahead here. Meanwhile, Tactics has had a woeful start from all the way from P3 down to P6. Needs to regain some composure here. But Tactics, one of the quickest drivers here. Meanwhile, Zampa going to send it in on the inside. He's overshot the corner. He's overshot the corner and he's caused contact with Dobo. Massively outbroke himself, and I believe he's caused Dobo some damage there. And unfortunate for Dobo. Meanwhile, Tactics is coming into the pits as well. Tactics may have damage here. Meanwhile, GB 1.2 ahead. What a monster start for the Ferrari driver. Tactics is retired from the session.
I've not even got my setup on, and I don't know why, because it should be on. We can bugger off. I'm angry, because I don't even have my setup. Right, I'm boxing. Sorry, I'm done, guys.
Meanwhile, Dynamic Duo on the inside of the Williams of Cthulhu. Meanwhile, Josh ghosted. Oh my word. And unfortunately, Cthulhu gone off there, hit a bit of the brake marker. We've got Naka Cracker around at the back. Had a spin, unfortunately. But the gaps are building now. GB in the lead. Meanwhile, Spearing Jewel also had a spin, unfortunately. But GB in the lead outside the DRS as the DRS has been enabled. Cthulhu now on the inside of Dynamic Duo. Good move from the Williams driver. Spirit Fungus watching this battle along as well. Cthulhu still defending. And Dynamic Duo just has so much pace here, because even with the driver ahead of Cthulhu having the DRS, Dynamic Duo is able to find a way through. Bit of contact. Cthulhu contact with Spirit Fungus here as well. They go side by side. Spirit Fungus is going to get through as Cthulhu over the curb now. Side by side he goes with Charisma. Cthulhu losing out massively here. Charisma's going to get through. As Zampa going to send it on the inside. 3 wide. Reckless from Zampa. As he's gone for the double send. Contact between the McLaren of Callum and Charisma as well. Charisma's gone round under contact with his teammate Zampa. There's been a lot of carnage. Meanwhile, Wade Throne and Dynamic Duo continue to battle. Wade Throne on the inside here, around the outside of the AlphaTauri. He's trying to search for the traction, and he has got a great race so far for the AlphaTauris. And Dynamic Duo seem to be a wonderful pair. Meanwhile, Zampa's had an error, and he's allowed Dub Z, Cthulhu and Dobo through. There's a yellow flag out. I don't believe for anyone there. It's for Josh. Josh now 4 seconds back from GB. The Salmon looking for way through, and Wedge through almost outside the DRS of the driver ahead of Dynamic Duo. Dynamic Duo all over the rear of Josh and gets through into P2. What a move from Dynamic Duo. Round the final corner. It seems Josh may have damage here, as now Wed Throne going to get through. Maybe even the Salmon as well, if he can get a good run down the straight. But side by side they go. This Josh is lagged out. I'm going to try and get Josh back in here. Meanwhile, the Salmon on the back of Wed Throne going to get through into P3 here. What a race this is for the AlphaTauris. Meanwhile, Spirit Fungus in the Mercedes got a much better run down the straight and may get the move here on Wed Throne. And Spirit Fungus now into P4. Could be a good result here for Spirit Fungus on the horizon. As Ollie in the chat says, GB Tier 1. Meanwhile, Cthulhu on the inside of Zampa. Looking for the move. Contact between the Red Bull and the Williams. Zampa's gone off. And Zampa's massively clunked the wall. Big contact between Zampa and Cthulhu there. And Zampa's absolutely smashed the wall. I have no idea how that Red Bull is still going. The Salmon closing up to his teammate Dynamic Duo. Meanwhile, Lucas Dirksen's retired. It could be a safety car. It's a VSC out. It's a VSC. Lucas Dirksen's lost it there.
Oh, Cthulhu or something. Oh no, Lucas. Oh no, VSC as I've gone past the pit lane. You're joking me.
All the pit stops coming out now have added. Zampa's got a speeding in the pit lane penalty. But this VSC could massively help the drivers behind. Dynamic Duo, Wade Throne, the Salmon, all on mediums. All the hard runners here, I believe, could be in very good standing. The hard runners can go to the end here.
Oh my god, I've been hit by that bump again.
It could be 3 wide here into turn 1, as they may both get through on Spared Fungus. They do. Contact between Wade Throne and the Salmon, and the Salmon's gone round, and unfortunately had a coming together with the AlphaTauri. Zampa's still following along Callum. Meanwhile, GB picks up a time penalty entering the pit lane. I wonder, is that a genuine warning or is that some game glitch?
Yeah, I've lost a second on this lap, but I'm open tyre life at the end of the race, or them doing a 2-stop will help me out a bit. Oh, I've got a penalty for that. That's bullshit.
It may be removed at the end, but GB going for the mediums, going for the risky strategy. Dubsy will lead us away here. Meanwhile, will Dynamic Duo have undercut GB? I believe so. But GB still may have the pace to use if he comes out here ahead of Wade Throne, which he will. Meanwhile, Spared Fungus now on the rear of Wade Throne as well. Dubsy may inadvertently be playing a team game here by holding up. Dynamic Duo, actually, he lets him through. He does the opposite. He does the opposite. Dubsy's like, we're not on the same strategy, I'm just going to let you go. And GB sets the fastest lap of the race as he goes on the inside of Dubsy and is going to get the move comfortably into turn 1. He's now 1.4 behind Dynamic Duo. They could have removed that glitch, they could have not. Spurring Jewel retires in the pits. He's called it a day. It's a safety car. Potentially could have lost the rear out of the final corner there. Meanwhile, GB out on fresh mediums, Dynamic Duo out on fresh hards. But I believe GB now on the better tyres, Wade Throne. But this has massively benefited Dubsy, as Charisma's also got a 3-second time penalty entering the pit lane. Moving back on into the race, Cthulhu's going to get us restart here. Does have 7 lap old hards, so it may be tough to defend here. Meanwhile, Dynamic Duo on the rear here, as well as GB trying to find a way through. GB bottled up here behind of Cthulhu. And GB even maybe having the top of the rear. On the inside now of Dynamic Duo, GB goes. Cthulhu may open the door to GB. GB may have a look on the inside. Whoa. Cthulhu going to keep defending. GB has to back out. Dynamic Duo going to get back through again here. And GB looking around the outside. Can he get the traction? Battling here for P1 goes GB, Cthulhu and Dynamic Duo. GB and Dynamic Duo still side by side here. GB's finally got through. Wade Throne now joining this battle as well on the mediums. Dobo, Callum all here as well. Wade Throne may even send it on the inside of the AlphaTauri. Wade Throne does have a look. GB round the outside of Cthulhu. Goes wide.
Nice work, mate. That brings you up a place.
Meanwhile, Cthulhu looking for the way back through. Meanwhile, Dynamic Duo on the inside of Cthulhu has to back out a little bit. It's very single lane through the penultimate corner there. Meanwhile, Dynamic Duo make it back past Cthulhu. Wade Throne now looking for the inside. Wade Throne on the inside of both, make it into P2 here with the... That's a big contact with Dynamic Duo. Dynamic Duo's gone round. Big contact there. Spared Fungus now on the inside of Callum. Gets through on the McLaren. Meanwhile, and Zampa's retired in the pit lane. Zampa's called it a day. Meanwhile, Dynamic Duo, big contact there. And there's more contact as that Spared Fungus gone off. Cthulhu's lost out as well here. Cthulhu down to P8. Meanwhile, Dubsy in P5. Is Dubsy a genius? I think he is. Dubsy make him go for the podium here. He's balled up by the Salmon and Dobo. The Salmon gonna set it on for P3. They're battling for the podium here. GB now 3 seconds in lead. Callum in P2. Did a last to first, potentially last to second at the moment. Dubsy now on the inside. Has to back out from the Salmon. The Salmon may set it on Dobo. Who will get the run here? Cthulhu picks up a time penalty as Charisma goes deep. Oh, and there's contact with the Red Bull and the Mercedes of Spared Fungus. And Charisma and Spared Fungus have been spun round. And it's gone from bad to worse. Multiple contacts today. Meanwhile, Spared Fungus and Naka Kraka's gone round. More contact we see here, it seems. Spared Fungus almost bumping the rear of Naka Kraka. Spared Fungus make it through. Contact with Naka Kraka here. And Naka Kraka goes off. Very strange incident there. Meanwhile, Dynamic Duo on the rear of Dubsy, gonna blow by the Mercedes. And Dynamic Duo at one point could have had to win this race, it did seem. On the final lap, can Dubbo get the move on track? Goes for the outside of the Salmon. And the Salmon goes defensive, but it may be a lovely switch back here from Dubbo. Contact between the AlphaTauri and Alpine, but meanwhile, GB rounds the final corner here and will win in Spain. Callum will jump him on penalties, but will that penalty be removed? We'll have to find out. Meanwhile, the Salmon here may lose out to his teammate Dynamic Duo as well. We will see. Dobo jump up to P3, Dynamic Duo P4, the Salmon P5. Callum is your driver today, and deservingly so. A last to first / P2, we just quite don't know yet.
And after the stewards' reports were finalised, your winner was confirmed as GB Sanderson, who picks up his first win of the season, with Callum 87 in second place. Dobbo rounding out the podium with another strong result for the Alpine. And looking at the rest of your top 10, Ravage and Simon round off a very strong weekend for the AlphaTauris in 4th and 5th. Dubsy's alternate strategy pays off as he claims 6th place with Wedfrone 7th, Charisma 8th, Cthulhu 9th and Spared Fungus claiming the fastest lap in 10th place. Elsewhere, Naka Kraka was the last of your finishers in 11th, 1 lap down but still picking himself up 6 points with Joshi, Zampa, Sparring Jewel, Lucas Dirksen and Tactics, your non-finishers. Moving over to the standings, and it's now a two-way tie at the top of the leaderboard with GB and Dobbo level on 41 points. It's also a tie for third with Callum and Ravage level on 30. It gets very tight behind there though. Spared Fungus moves himself up into 5th on 29, Tactics dropping all the way to 6th. And in the Constructors, AlphaTauri take up the lead at the top of the standings on 54 points, Mercedes in 2nd on 50, Ferrari and Alpine tied in 3rd. And there's no change at the bottom as Red Bull, Alfa Romeo and Williams all gain points but don't change position. Tier 2 heads to China for round 3 at the Shanghai International Circuit. Make sure to watch all the action live on Twitch or catch the extended highlights right here on YouTube.